Welcome to a new episode of Manage to Retain, where I talk about issues around business for employees, your customers, recruiting, retention, productivity, and profitability. And I do it with my friends, Sheri and Lou. Listen in, you might get a few tips here on how to do leadership better in your business.
Don't want to admit it though.
Hi, everyone. This is Vinay Raman with Manage to Retain. This is a weekly show that I do with my friends Sheri and Lou. Sheri and Lou, how you doing?
Awesome, Vinay.
And let me tell you what we do. Leadership is hard these days. Being an effective leader, I think, might be even harder. And the reason why is because lots of times the path forward seems a little murky, muddy, clear as mud, I think is the right phrase. And we're all about trying to make that easier for you to figure out how to do that, because I take a look at data and numbers and metrics and try to show you that path of what's been happening so you can figure out what to change and what behaviors to change. But when you want to change those behaviors, you need someone who can coach you and try to train you and help up-level your thinking. And that's why I've got Sheri and Lou. Sheri and Lou, did I do justice to what you all do?
You always do, Vinay. Yeah, that's good. I love, and what's cool about this is, it just kind of came to me. I think we're all about analogies on this show. As when you go, and I went for an eye checkup. When was it? I don't know. A couple weeks ago, and went into a new doctor. But I'm thinking about this as we're talking, and if you think about it, every piece of data that we come across in our life is connected to clarity in some way. It's connected to clarity or fogginess, or not clarity, right? Unclarity. So what's the opposite of unclear? Not clear. But anyway, you know what I mean, right? So when you go in, so I was one of the eye doctor, right? They have you look at there and they flip these dials to test, and all these dials, if you step back and look, they all have numbers on them. They all have data that tells the doctor who reads this data, that I don't have any clue what it means, that, we need to do this tweak and that tweak in order to make your vision clear enough to be able to see from where you are to over there. Oh, and also be able to read, because I'm over 40. So I've got to be able to do that too. And there's a whole different set of numbers and data there. So data equates to clarity. So what level of clarity do you want to be in is really the question.
So I want to actually share, you guys will be surprised by this. I want to share a screen that shows you some data and visualization based on the data.
Love it.
And hopefully this is where we kind of get to move those little things that keep clicking. How about this? How about this? How about this? How about this?
Yes,
right?
Yes.
We get to what creates some clarity. And I'm going to give you a set of lenses into a real person. We've changed the name, but the data is real. So you'll get a set of lenses into this person. Let's find out if it gives you some more clarity. So I'm going to share my screen here. And let's see how this goes. See if Lou is a good eye doctor. So I'm going to explain this real quick to everyone. So we're looking at an organization that's got 3 different branches with people: Phoenix, Houston, and Dallas. We're looking at Casey. And there's a couple of things I want to tell you. Is from the way we rank people, just like on your report card when you were in school, from 0 to 100, 100 being the best, that's the A+. So this company, the average person is a 54. That's represented by this gray area in the middle. This blue area, however, represents Casey, and how Casey's doing against that average person in the role. They've got a 56, slightly higher than the average.
Yeah.
Why that is because the average of all of these scores here gives you that 56. So their efficiency as a technician or efficiency as an employee, fantastic. They got a 90 in that score. It's a very high score. Driver behavior is a 78, which is also good. But this NPS, this net promoter score here, is a low score. It's a 6. Net promoter is, in case you're not familiar, that's a customer service or a customer satisfaction score. So if we look at this, the skills assessment is above average. There's efficiency and there's driver behavior above average, but you can see this net promoter score and our tech referring, our ability to refer sales back to the office are pretty low. Sheri and Lou, what do you see here?
Well, it looks like Casey's flying a kite. If you look at that diagram, that's what it looks like, right? What's amazing about this, to be in all seriousness, is that if we were to take and not look at this data, but only look at the company role score, which is the overall company score, versus Casey's score of 56, without knowing any other number, we would say, man, Casey's a rock star. He's killing our averages. It's because of him that we're doing so well and people like him. It's not until we adjust our vision with this data that we actually, a 1 or 2, right? We see that now with this site, this in our sites, that there's actually a lot of work to do. The reason he's got a higher score is because he's super good in efficiency, which tells us on a side note that perhaps we need to up level everyone else in the company to move that expectation a little higher so that these numbers balance out. But that's another conversation. But the fact of the matter is that covers up, if you will, the fact that he actually isn't selling anything. He's doing his job super good, so it's burying his weaknesses here. But in actuality, he's not doing as well as we think he might be doing.
Now I'm going to throw another monkey wrench in here, but as we're looking at this,
Monkey wrench.
Yeah,
She does that.
well, what about maybe this person possibly could be in the wrong position?
Yeah, it's true. Maybe they need to go into management at this point for customer service.
Since they're super
But no, that's not. I'm
efficient,
kidding.
but super efficient. I don't know,
You're right.
maybe an
Yeah.
administrative role or something. Or
Maybe,
I don't know.
yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there. Those are the possibilities.
Yeah.
But that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Again, all about perspective, right?
that's true.
Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to think about this in one different way. I would like to take, so you've got all these pieces of data that come from all this pieces of software. You have Excel spreadsheets, CSV files, you get these tables, and we do all these calculations to figure out what's going on with the company. Instead
Man,
of all
that
that,
is the truth.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Too many.
We all have it, right? I mean, that is so true. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we're inundated with these Excel spreadsheets. And show us this number and that number. Yeah.
Instead of taking all that time to take all that spreadsheet for Casey over the course of 9 months, 3 months, 30 days, 6 days, whatever the case may be, that's what this does right here. It pulls it all together and says, here's what's happening. And you can see that's for 2022. This is how he's been performing, or he or she has been performing so far, right? It immediately summarizes it for you, and it does it automatically.
Yeah.
And this is actually as of today. But I want to show you one more way to look at this, because I think there's something here. So let's look at efficiency being high and the net promoter score being low, and what is potentially causing those things to occur. In any moment now, the wheel of life will spin here, and then we will
that's the wheel that turns when you're trying to like zone in on the focus when you're in the eye.
That's exactly right. So let's take a look at efficiency. If we look at efficiency, we see that driver behavior and their obviously their efficiency, their driver behavior, their employee experience, and their skills assessment are really kind of the top three things. So the efficiency as a technician comes from the fact that they've got good driving behavior. Their efficiency as a technician comes from the fact that they have a good employee experience, generally speaking, right? And then the last one here is this skills assessment. So they feel like they've got mastery. They feel like they like the company, and they feel like they're a conscientious driver, which is what leads to efficiency. That kind of gives you a little bit of an insight into who they are. But let's look at the net promoter score. Their net promoter score, the biggest one here is employee experience and their skills assessment. So the way I read this, actually, let me give you all a chance. What do you see here? Their net promoter score and their skills assessment are directly or strongly related to their customer service score. What do you think about that?
It's interesting. Perhaps Casey has a wrong impression of the mission of the company. Because if we're looking at the employee experience, I'm not convinced that he's sold on the mission.
Or he hasn't fully bought in, right?
That's right. He's not fully convinced or bought in as to really what the mission is. He's not. Who knows what that might mean? And we can go into that at a whole new soap opera level when it comes down to, well, maybe he has bad experiences with leadership. Who knows, right? Senior leadership might be the fault for this because they're not necessarily following the mission. Who knows? But there obviously is, if it's an employee experience relation that we're seeing here, it's a connection, direct correlation to the NPS score. That means he's not really have a good experience when it comes down to company values, company morale, company culture. that's where we begin. That's my take on this.
But I'm looking at this as I inspect this a little more. 0.75 here for skills assessment, 0.75, efficiency 0.71, employee experience 0.99. You can't make that any stronger other than having a 1. And tech refer. What I'm seeing is that this person is technically probably quite good. I mean, as evidenced by the efficiency, technically quite good, but they don't know the spirit of why they're doing it. They're fantastic at the how. And they don't understand why. They're not aligned with the mission. You've got a person here who could potentially be a superstar if you just show them, look, we're not selling stuff to people. We're enabling them, in this case, a pest control company. We're enabling them to live in their backyard because there are no mosquitoes there, and they can spend time in their backyard with their children. And they wouldn't be able to do that without somebody doing it. Why not us help them get there?
Yeah, that's a perfect example. I mean, so that you saying that is like this. So Casey is the employee that is so good. He is the best tech you have. So you send him out to the client, but you're also, let's say you have your best client, like your most important client you have. You'll send the most important and best tech. You're going to send Casey, but you're not just going to send Casey. You're going to pair Casey up with the best customer service person you have on the team to go with him, so that while Casey goes and does the tech part, you don't want him talking to your client because he's not good at it. You're going to have the other person do that part. I know that rang bells for some of the listeners out there, because that's what happens. We pair up people like that instead of looking at them and identifying and sharpening the skills necessary so they can do both things.
Well, I wanted to keep this as a short episode, but I think I didn't know what we were going to expect here. This is what I love about this. You can start to see the stories of what's happening with people just by looking at the data. Oh, yeah. And if you've never had a chance to see it like this, here's the best part. You already have the data in your organization to do that today. What we do as a company is we take all that data and build that graph that you saw before, that little spider graph, that radar graph, and this to start showing you whether it's for Casey, for all the people in Casey's branch, that branch, or across branches, across your company, where, one or two, right? Yeah. We give you the visibility into that so that you build all of that clarity. Mm-hmm. But I want to bring one point up, and that is back to Sheri and Lou about they've got these 10 principles that every leader needs in order to be able to lead with influence. What comes to mind here in terms of if you were the leader and you saw this, we went through this whole analysis in your own mind when looking at this, what principles come to mind for you?
I'm going to go with, and thank you for that, the 10 principles that we have developed over the last 5 decades of combined experience in corporate, doing it the wrong way, figuring it out the right way, is these 10 principles that we believe that every leader can follow to lead with influence. And one of those principles is the reflect principle. As a leader, it's necessary for us to do reflection, to take a pause and to reflect. We say reflection breeds intention. In other words, by reflecting, it has a causation of action and intentional action, not just responsive action. So when you can reflect upon a situation, so in this case, the reason that this applies is as a leader, we just did that. We reflected. We don't know Casey personally. We got the data. That data, if we reflect on it, separating emotion from a person, we say reflecting tells us that intentionally we need to then breed growth in Casey. We need to find a way to grow Casey so that he can be better at what Casey does, or she. So if you're not being intentional as a leader, you're not going to ever be able to serve those that you lead. Pure and simple. You've got to be intentional. So that's the reflect principle.
So for anyone who listened, hopefully you saw that the data that you have in your organization is not just something that you look at on a spreadsheet. It actually it has the capability of telling you, with the right tool set and the right perspective, the ability to show you how to lead with influence and effectively. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening, thank you for spending some time listening in to us. Thanks for coming. But Sheri and Lou, thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, you're thanks welcome. For sharing more data with us, Vinay.
I love doing that.
You do.
All right. See you all later.
All right. Thanks, Vinay.
Bye bye.
Bye.